Hello guys and welcome back. So now I want to explain the idea of mixing constraint that I use, and this is my own way of working with constraints to optimize them and to give me the artistic control I need. It doesn't mean that it's the only way to approach this problem, but this is how I've been doing it, and hopefully you guys can come up with a similar idea or improve upon this. So first of all, I want to make the fracturing here a bit more interesting. So I'm going to use a point replicate, and I'm going to scatter some points, maybe 20. I'm going to use a point replicate, and I'm going to copy 10 spheres, and let's increase them. I'm going to merge this here with these guys, and let's see how that looks. So that helped a bit, and let's increase this to 600 and this to 20. Okay, and let's turn off relax iteration. Cool. So let's take a look at the constraint. I want to use the surface, and let's go pick that Voronoi setup. So this part, this section here. Okay, let's take a look. Cool. So this is I'm creating the Voronoi pattern, and this is how my cluster looks like. And the idea is I want to let's take a look. I want to set these guys as glue constraint, and I want to set these guys as a pin constraint. Okay, and let's maybe reduce the jitter a bit. It's very uniform. Maybe this guy, yeah, something like that. And we can always play with all the inputs for the Voronoi to get more variegation, but that's not the focus here. And what I want to do is I'm going to set these guys as a glue constraint. So let me copy this, and this is going to be glue, and this is going to be our pin constraint. We can use the colors, it's fine. And then we're gonna scale the pin constraint to a primitive. Let me make sure this is clear. So the pin constraint, we're scaling them down to a point. Okay, and let's merge all this. And so if we view the points, that's our glue, and that's our pin. And let's copy that. Everything is good. Let's go here. Let's do one more thing. I want to make sure that the active is high enough, so I'm going to increase this to, oh sorry, yeah, so the active we didn't set based on the height. I thought I did. So let's say if v at p dot y is less than 0.6, I at active equals 0. I'm going to remove this, and let's copy this guy because we don't need this anymore. Okay, so let's take a look, and we're going to create a glue constraint and merge these. You'll set the constraint to -0, no propagation, no iteration, none of these guys. Okay, I don't want any of that stuff. I just want a pure constraint network. And let's see the ground. Okay, everything is good. Let's hit play. And as you can see already, it's much faster now. And it's pushing the glue constraints. I'm getting, see that nice crack now? Much better. Okay, so let's dive inside. and I don't want to be doing all this stuff to everything. I want to separate them, so I'm going to separate them. I'm going to use a split node and at constraint name is equal pin, and it's a primitive attribute. And let me verify something. Okay, let's see. Yep, it's working. Sorry about that. So this is our constraint. This is our pin constraint. We want to do all this stuff to it. And then the other stuff is the glue constraint, which we don't want to mess or change. So I'm simply going to isolate both of them. Let's do it like this. So this is constraint coming in. We're splitting, doing stuff to the pin constraint and leaving the glue constraint intact. And let's turn on back the delete, and actually go into, yeah, that's fine. Okay, so let's take a look. That piece fell down. I guess the angle caused it to do that. So this is a very solid wall, and let's lower the constraint iteration and reset that back. And I'm going to increase the density back to 1000. And here I'm going to give the glue constraint a chance to break. Let's try 100. See how that looks. It's too low. Try 1000. Nice. And that's pretty much the idea. Let's try 4000. Yep, that's the whole idea. Now look at how this wall is behaving. It's first deforming along these cracks. It's not showing and revealing everything. Okay, so just these guys. And then as it falls down, we meet that pin threshold thing, it's causing the pieces to fracture, and also the glue, which is holding this entire block, that's fracturing down. So let's show the glue. So that's all pin, and then the red is glue constraint. And I think it's too low. Let's try 20,000. Yeah, and now it's gonna continue bending and breaking. So that stayed there. That clustering is what we're looking for. And we also got all the bending. Now I'm gonna increase the bend, or actually, you know what? I'm not gonna delete any bending stuff. So let's see. And let's increase the glue even more. 60. Let's call this end. Let's call this 5. Mixing constraints. Yeah, I think you guys got the idea. You can see the pattern now, and the wall is deformed and working as expected. So let's increase this to 50,000. Yep. Now, this is great, and maybe I can show. Okay, I'm gonna pause for 1 second. Actually, I'm not going to pause. I can find this quickly. So let's go to here. And this guy. Okay, so this part here is caused by the system that I just showed you guys. Okay, and all this as well. But the important information here is that it's very, very important to play with this pattern. The more this pattern is very, very important. The bigger the constraint, the bigger or the more glue constraint we have, the more blockier it's gonna be. The less glue constraint, the softer it's going to become, and the smaller the clusters are going to be. Now this is the smallest size, the biggest size, sorry. We have this, which is great. But this pattern decides a lot of things on how the sim is gonna react. If, for example, I change this to have more elongated patterns, I'll show you. Maybe we break it even more, something like that, and let's reduce. Okay, so we have elongated patterns now, and let's turn this back on. We're gonna get completely different look in terms of how the sim is going to split, and I honestly don't have any magic rule for this. I simply play with the settings, try to get the best pattern possible for me to use. And this one gave us one specific look. Different noise can give us a completely different look. There is no right or wrong about this. We can also mix stuff. So we did this, for example. Now let's scale this up. We can use a new noise pattern. Let's do this. I'm gonna copy this guy. I'm gonna use a noise pattern. So I'm gonna use a noise pattern here. It's a float. It's a float, and I'm gonna use a fit range function because I know it goes between -1 and 1. And the frequency, I'm gonna use this to drive the frequency. The frequency I'm gonna map between 0.2 and 0.6. So (3D) noise. Okay, let's do float to vector. It's not liking that, so let's do a float to vector. And now we have a mixture. We can get big clusters and also small clusters, and this is controlled by this noise. So let's scale this down to 0.5 and see where we now have more variation. Let's go do one more thing. Let's reduce this to 200. Okay. We have that, and I'm gonna copy this one more time. And I'm gonna change the seed. I'm gonna lower the points and increase this guy, the number of points here, just to get a different look. Okay, and let's do one more thing. Let's remesh this guy like we did before. I think this is a great example because it helps me to show you guys what these controls do to the look of the sim, and it's going to be trickier to explain this with a real sim. Okay, so that's our box geo, and let's fracture this. Maybe we should use the recursive node, but it's okay for now. I'm gonna use it. I want to get the edge detail so I can show you better. I have to change the scale, and let's do one more. And I'm gonna set this to 60. And let's connect it here. Yeah, it's Centroid 1. Okay, let's lower this to 0.5. And now I don't have a lot of pieces, but I think it's gonna help with this. Now we have less pieces, so it's gonna be much faster, but we have some pin as well. So let's take a look. Let's see how this looks now. Yep, it's much better. And it's bending. Obviously we have to break it at that level, but I think the overall idea is the pattern of the glue and the RBD goes hand in hand. We have to have enough details or enough pieces so that whenever we create this pattern, we can show this pattern can help show the detail from the sim, from the geometry, sorry. Let's try 250. I want to increase the number of pieces. And let's lower this to 2.25. And let's increase this to 40. I want to get more pieces in. Try 500. Okay. And let's see how that looks now. Cool. Yeah. I think we have a lot of pin constraint, but let's play with these guys. And again, there's no right or wrong. It's just about the visual. Okay, and let me increase this to 20. Oh, sorry, I set the constraint by mistake to 1. As we probably we're not getting the correct result from the get-go. Okay, now it's holding much better. So let's reduce this to 10. As you can see, this is not ideal, but the higher the constraint iteration, the more stable it's going to the sim is going to be, but that means you have to tweak as well your values differently. So see now how it's resisting, and it's cracking. See that pattern? This is coming from both the RBD, the shape of the geometry, as well as the glue cluster, which is holding all these guys, for example, but it can break there. So that's basically how I'm getting all the realistic look from, and the speed, the realistic look, and the interesting patterns, using these combination of the glue constraint, the Voronoi, the clustering of the glue and pin, and then the fracturing of the pieces. So let's lower this to 5,000. And let's lower this to 20, increase that to 20, and let's delete the pin constraint cool. So this is much more realistic now. Yep, that's the effect. And see, just by from this example, it didn't work from the beginning. I had to do few changes for it to, so that I can start getting these clustering effect. So there is always tweak, even if your setup is perfectly fine and working like a charm. There's always tweaks that needs to be done. Okay, and then I'm gonna do one more thing here. So that's the deforming geometry, and I'm gonna I'm gonna copy this and create points to represent geometry. I'm gonna use the transform pieces, and I want to transform these guys. Okay, and I'm gonna use the interior RBD interior, which comes with Houdini 17. So let's see how this is going to work. We're not going to use it with the packed geo. We're going to use it with the original geo, and let's do an exploded view. Okay. Let's increase it even more, 0.5. And let's set this to 0.25. Great. And let's transform these guys now. We're not importing the box geometry, just these guys, so that's why we're not seeing them, but I think you guys got the idea. And let me do one more thing here. Tint back faces. Yep, and everything is working as expected. Now, what I want you guys to do once you get to this level is try different combinations of the number of pieces, the constraint pattern, and fully understand how this works, because there's a lot of iteration that goes into getting the look that you want. It's not just tweaking. I had to do fracturing try different fracturing patterns, try different clustering, different noise, different Voronoi pattern to get the shapes and sizes I needed, even though everything technically is fully set up. And I think that's pretty much it for this video. Thank you guys for watching, and see you in the next one. Bye bye.